Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining our virtual panel about student life at Gann. I think this is one of my favorite topics because student life at Gann is amazing. It's really fun. The relationships are so important, and we're lucky enough to have an advisory here today. We have a 12th grade advisor, Lily Rabinoff-Goldman, also known as Miss RG, and some of her senior advisors. So I am going to throw it over to her. I just want to say a couple of things about Zoom. I am recording this call or this virtual panel, and I'm doing that so we can put it on our admitted students page. So if you have not been there, please make sure you visit. There's a lot of information there. We know it's really hard not to have in-person revisit days, and we're doing a great job, I think, of trying to get all this information to you. The other thing is, oh, thank you, Emily. Emily just put the link on the chat. The other thing is we usually ask people to mute their cameras when they're not talking, just so we don't hear a lot of background noise. Little brothers and sisters and dogs. So I think that's it. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss RG.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see some familiar faces and some new ones. So I am the English department chair. This is my 10th year at Gann. I'm finishing up, which is kind of hard to believe. So the kiddos who you see here today, which is Evan, Emma, and Eden, are probably my 5th or 6th advisory, which is really crazy, but we've been together for the past 4 years. And I don't know, we love each other. So both they and I are gonna share with you guys about what advisory is like, what role I play in their lives, but also Evan, Eden, and Emma have each been involved in really different stuff at Gann on the student life side. And so to give them the opportunity to share a little bit about all the different kinds of things that they've been involved in, so that folks can get a sense of sort of the broad array of pathways through Gann that different students have. So I'm going to turn it over to them. I'm going to call on each one of them to introduce themselves. And then we have a few key things that we want to talk about today, but we should also have quite a bit of time for questions about student life, about advisory. Yeah, I think that's it. So Evan, why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Evan. I'm obviously in 12th grade. I went to Rashi before Gann, and at Gann I do robotics, soccer, lacrosse, a little bit in the fabrication lab, though not a ton. That's kind of just who I am as a whole at Gann. And if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer any sports related, or just, I love Gann. I love Gann. I love Gann. So if you guys have any questions about Gann.
Thanks, Evan. Emma?
Hi, I am Emma Sullaway. I went to the Shady Hill School in Cambridge, Mass. And I also love Gann. I am the student council president right now, but I've also been involved in past years in writing for the Shavuot, which is the Gann newspaper, and volleyball, lacrosse. Another thing about sports is everyone is at a different level, which is really nice. And yeah, I'm here to answer any questions you have about clubs, getting involved, things like that.
Okay, thanks. Eden?
Hi, my name's Eden. For elementary and middle school, I was at Maimonides School in Brookline. And then I decided to make the switch, which is, I think it's a little different often when you switch from MIMO to Gann, because there is a high school at MIMO, so there's like a little bit of like a friendly rivalry. So it was really awesome coming to Gann. And over the past few years, I've been involved in dance and robotics and Model UN, mock trial, and this year I'm the president of the Model UN team and of the dance company.
Great, thanks. Okay, does anybody have any burning questions that we can get to about student life? Okay, so I think maybe what we'll start with is sharing a little bit about how we spend our advisory time and what it means for me to be these guys' advisor and for them to be my advisees and for us to be a group together. So on a totally structural level, advisors and advisees get matched up in before you even show up for ninth grade. You get an email from your advisor saying, hi, you belong to me, I'm yours for the next 4 years. And the relationship starts there. So my role as an advisor for these guys, and there's actually 9 students in our group. Interestingly, we're the hyphenated last name group, but none of these advisees have hyphenated last names. So we've been together for all 4 years, and my role with these guys is we meet twice a week and an advisory group, and we do a wide array of things. We have lunch together, we chit chat, we check in, we do sort of learning activities together also. But also it's my role to help these guys be their academic advisor. So we were reflecting on all the conversations that I've had with all 3 of these guys about what kind of academic life they want, what kind of courses they want to be registering for, where are areas that they really want to push themselves, where are ways to sort of balance themselves academically. And then I'm also there just sort of as their resident support person at school. So when people are having a hard time, the advisor is there in loco parentis at school. And I'm really there to be sort of a caring, loving adult in the building. And sometimes like via text at 7 a.m. when people are on their way to school. But also when things go really well, you know, we are the biggest cheerleaders for the students in our advisory. So I think, yeah, Evan, Emma, or Eden, would any of you guys like to sort of share a little bit about how we use advisory time and sort of what that piece of our lives together looks like?
Yeah, I could talk. So I think it really varies. I think as you grow together as a group, you kind of figure out what works for your group personally. I know there have been in the past things that Gann will tell us that there are certain things that we should get done, and we take that time during advisory to like discuss certain questions that Gann wants us to talk about or different activities. But then a lot of the time is really just dedicated to sharing with our peers and with Lily about what we want to be doing over the next week, what our goals are, like what our struggles have been in the previous week. And it's kind of just this built-in support group where things can get like where we really like are vulnerable with each other and share, but also a really light and fun space where we do like funny games and just laugh and like it's like a small family. So you just do all the things a family would do in school.
Yeah, with a lot more ice cream. I think we eat more ice cream together as an advisory than I usually eat with my family.
A lot of ice cream, a lot of ice cream and snacks.
Sometimes early in the morning too, which is excellent.
Yeah. Emma, do you want to share maybe some of the ways that our advisory has sort of come together as a group over the past 4 years?
Yeah, Eden was actually saying it really well before about how the first time we met. Do you want to take that first and then I can talk about now, Eden?
Sure. So the first memory I have of our advisory all together for the first time was very, very beginning of ninth grade. We were on this school retreat and we were all like scared little 14-year-olds who had, like, we're still trying to find our place. And we were all sitting together like eating dinner, and I was looking around at everyone and I didn't really know who anyone was. And I was just like worried, scared, but everyone was so nice and we were all sitting there. And like now we're all nearly 18 or already 18. And I look back at this group and I see like I was with them when I was like that scared little 14-year-old, and I'm here with them now, and they really do feel like such like an important part of my life. And it's just cool to see that this group is like this consistent thing that grows with you throughout high school, even when things like classes and like everything else around you can kind of waver. I feel like this advisory kind of stays there as that core support.
Am I going to add to that?
Yeah, totally. I think our advisory is unique in a lot of ways based on our personalities, that like each advisory kind of has its own like core identity based on who the kids are going to be. But our advisory is awesome, and a bunch of advisories, all of them are really special in their own way and have definitely grown. I think one of the really cool things about Gann Advisory is that there is like a structure to it, but like Miss RG and Eden were saying, the advisor is really good about kind of doing what's right for that advisory specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, Evan, you want to add anything to that?
I was just gonna add, we often again we have forms we need to fill out or things that we need to do and accomplish in advisory, and we always get to advisor and we always end up talking, and then at the end Miss RG is like, oh wait, I completely forgot, and I think that speaks really well to the community again. Yeah, we need to do those forms and fill out those whatever they are, but I think that advisory is more meant for just a time to like middle of the week time to like be with the people you know and you're comfortable with, and do literally anything, eat, like sleep, like just have like a relaxed time where you can just talk and not have to think about your test or quiz that just happened or coming up. So yeah.
Or we spent about 6 months in advisory playing a card game called the Meta Game.
Yeah, we like every single Tuesday and Friday.
Yeah. Okay, there's a question in the chat here. So the question is, how does the advisor help you pick classes? And what if you want to take all the classes? What do you do? So does one of you want to answer that first, and then I can jump in? Eden, go ahead.
Eden.
So that's actually something I have struggled with. I think every year, as Mr. G might know, I've wanted to take every single class and it's hard for me to decide. And I think Mr. G kind of helps you, and your advisor, anyone, will help you kind of focus in on what's really important to you and kind of what your priorities are and what you want to get out of the following year. So there's always kind of like a push and tug with yourself about like what's most important to you. But I can say I've been in a wide range of classes through Gann, whether it's like different histories, Englishes, different sciences. And especially in your senior year, you have like the most amount of options you've ever had. I'd say it's somewhat easier in 9th, 10th, 11th. It's more about just like if you want to take an advanced math course or a regular math or an AP. But in 12th grade, it's really about like all these different elective courses you can take. So like there's 5 Englishes, there's 5 sciences. There's just a lot of options, and you just kind of figure out what's most important to you. And also, if you're interested in something in a class you can't take, your peers are taking those classes, and you can also talk to the teacher if you want to like learn something about what they're taking. So the beauty of Gann also is that it's this very cohesive unit that if you're not in a particular class because you wanted to take a different class instead, there's still definitely ways to connect with the peers or the teacher and kind of get resources if you want to look into that as well.
Emma or Evan, just one of you want to add to that?
That was perfect. I think that definitely I agree with everything Eden said.
Yeah. I would say, for me as the adult in the equation, a big part of what I'm trying to help these guys do is look at them holistically and figure out, like, not just for me, but for them as sort of agents of their own lives, how to make the choices that are going to help them get where they want to go. And so, like, Evan, not to like pick on you, like I remember when Evan was, I don't remember if it was when you were a rising 10th grader or a rising 11th grader, but you had sort of had a year to get yourself settled, and we were trying to figure out, like, what are you good at? What do you care about? And I remember having a conversation about, you were like, well, I think I'm actually like good at math. Like, I think maybe I should pursue it. And I see your mom on the call, and like I remember sitting in the art room and us just sort of talking about, like, okay, so what does it look like to really push yourself in that way, and how are you gonna sort of take care of yourself in other ways so that the rigor is balanced with comfort. And I remember conversations with both Emma and Eden also about, like, Emma, do you remember when we were talking about AP history? Like, Emma just like felt like she should take AP history in 11th grade. And then we looked at her whole program, and Emma was like, I think I can give myself one break. Like, that feels that feels okay because, you know, Emma's the president of student council. You know, she's got a lot on her plate. And I just remember the like look of relief on your face. You and your mom and I were just like, oh, okay, like this is not about this class or this class or this class. This is about my whole school experience, and really thinking about like where are the places where I want to extend myself and where are the places where I don't need to. But overall, I feel like, I mean, this is not the college counseling program. This is not the college counseling panel, but like all three of these guys are going to amazing, amazing schools next year. And just like helping them get through that pathway feels like, you know, this really important balance between like, where do you want to go, but also who are you in this moment? Like, who are you now? How can we take care of you and see you as you currently are? And also continue pushing you forward toward where you want to go.
I would just add on to that. I think I took Spanish throughout Rashi, so 7th and 8th grade, and then 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. And after 11th grade, I had the conversation with Miss RG. I said, I'm in an advanced Spanish class. It's a hard class for me, and I'm really pushing myself. But at what point does that come at like who I am? And I said to myself, look, I don't think I'm going to major in Spanish or move to a Spanish-speaking country. So this isn't something that I think I want to like push myself in. So instead, I decided to take 2 math classes this year. And I think that was a really big decision in my mind, just because I was thinking about the college process and, oh my God, like I'm dropping Spanish, what's happening? But it was really like, I'm not someone who needs to take Spanish nor really wants to take Spanish. I was taking it because I thought like that's what I need to do, but it's not. I wanted to push myself in math. I pushed myself in math, and I am interested in science. I'm taking a really cool science class, and I think that's something also really special about Gann is that everyone can do that. Gann's not preparing one type of kid. Gann caters to you and says, who are you? What are you going to excel at the most? And push yourself as hard as you can in that way, and then go as far as you can. And you'll go far, I promise.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Evan. Okay, so yeah, I see 2 questions in the chat. The first one is a pretty easy one to answer, which is about lockers and how lockers work. So Emma, you want to tell us how lockers work for our advisory or for all advisories?
So Eden and Evan, you can chime in also. But at the beginning of the year, if you've been to Gann, you know there are kind of these like wooden lockers all around the school. Every kid is assigned a locker at the very beginning of the year, and you get that in advisory.
So the 9 of you have lockers that are adjacent to each other.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. Well, here's the next part is that a lot of people don't actually use their lockers that much and carry their bag around with them all day. Gann is a pretty, very safe community, so people feel comfortable leaving their gym bag upstairs in the lobby or things like that and not having to go like, if you have a science class last block on the top floor and then have to run to the bottom floor in the basement, or you're just tired to get your sports bag, that's not an issue.
Yeah, I would just add on, I mean, people leave their keys, their phones, like people leave like in the lobby. It's a very safe school. Everyone feels comfortable because it's Gann. So people do use their lockers. I personally have not used my locker for all 4 years because I wanted to have everything with me. But like it's not, no one has locks on their lockers if you do use it. It's just safe and like it's a community. That's like the one word I would describe Gann as community.
Awesome. Okay, the next question is about clubs. So you guys at the beginning just each had a laundry list of all the different things that you're involved in. So how did you choose? Like how did those things come to be? Because I know just like from being in the background that what you're involved in now is not necessarily exactly the same thing you were involved in 9th grade. So can you sort of talk through what that's looked like? Eden, why don't you start?
Sure. So throughout my Gann experience, there have been some clubs I've been at like for all 4 years and some I've hopped around. So one I've been in since freshman year is Model UN. I tried out as a 9th grader, made the team, and then worked my way up until this year where I'm one of the captains of the team. And that's a super rewarding experience. Model UN is one of the clubs that takes a little more kind of work or dedication than maybe some of the more like laid back clubs are. And I mean laid back in the best way. Like it's just a time to really relax. In Model UN, it's a lot about just like educating on international politics and preparing for conferences. So this year we went to a Jewish conference, and we also went to National High School Model UN in New York. And Model UN gives you these great opportunities to travel around a bit and meet other Jewish and kids from non-Jewish backgrounds. So I've been a part of that, and it's been great. So I'm a part of dance company, which it's considered more of a sport, but I kind of look at it as a club too. Basically, we have at Gann like something called A and B block, where at the end of each day, you either have an A block or a B block, and they rotate. So like Monday, Wednesdays are A block, and Tuesdays, Thursdays are B block. And like once you finish classes, you have that, and it's like sports or like clubbish sort of group things. So I consider it kind of a club too. And that's been super rewarding, and also like another mini community. And then there are also like funny clubs you can pop into. Like there's a hot sauce club where people just try a bunch of different hot sauces, and like that's a really lighthearted, fun club that anyone could just come into. This environmental club, which I have been involved with. There's a fashion club, which you can write for a column for them. So there's like a whole abundance of like ranges of commitments and interests. So it's a really great place to find like your niche interests.
And I would just add that clubs, like you can make a club. My friend who started Hot Sauce Club was just started this year, and now it's a really big thing. I remember ninth grade, I forget who it was, but two of my friends they created Interfaith Club, and you can just create clubs. You can, anything you're interested in, you can make a club out of it, and Gann makes it really easy to do it. And you just gather a bunch of friends and bring people in, and like it just, people love it. So.
Yeah, can I just add to that real quick? So what Eden and Evan said is totally true, especially with getting involved in a range of clubs. And so just like how you get involved with clubs real quick is at the beginning of the year, there's a clubs fair where all the clubs set up booths around the servery, which is where we eat lunch, and you kind of walk around and sign up for them. But a big part of clubs at Gann is like, it's always changing and always growing the clubs amounts based on what kids are interested in. So even if like people don't sign up at the clubs fair at Hawkhill, which is our weekly assembly, people are always making clubs announcements for like drama clubs meeting in, here during lunch and things like that. And there's always ways to get involved. I think a really special thing about Gann is like, there's not one type of kid to do every job. Like a ton of different personalities are leaders of club, and a ton of different personalities are on student council. And even if you're not in like an organized thing, there are always ways to kind of get involved in the school in different ways, because it's pretty small that like if you have an idea or have an opportunity to do something or have some motivation to do something that will get kids involved or benefit the community in any way, there's really nothing stopping you, and people can be really supportive. People are super supportive.
That's awesome. Wait, Emma, before you mute yourself again, there's a bunch of questions in the chat about student publications.
Oh, yeah.
So I can talk about some of them, but do you want to talk a little bit about the school newspaper?
Yeah, the Shavuot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Shavuot is awesome. Elon, I think, wrote that. Hi, Elon. Basically it publishes like once every couple of weeks. I was a staff writer my freshman year. Anyone can be a writer for it pretty much. It's super fun. I don't really know what to say more than that. And also as like a sophomore and a junior, you can get positions on the editorial board. So like sophomores can be editors on it, which I think is really special. And do you want to talk about the other publications?
Sure. So we actually have a really wide range of student publications. So the Shavuot, which is our student newspaper, is sort of the most classic school newspaper that you're imagining. We have a variety of specialty papers that come out pretty much monthly. There's a sports publication called Lace Up, which is both about Gann sports, but also about national sports. We have a humor paper called The Artichoke, which is really actually very funny. We have an op-ed publication called Perspectives, which comes out twice a year. And we have a literary magazine that comes out every year also. And so actually I'm the English department chair, so obviously this is something that I care about a lot. But for students who love to write, there are just a million opportunities to have writing enrichment. And also importantly, like part of what's great about student publications, there's two things. One is that, like Eden said, like each student activity is really its own micro community. And so that's true both amongst the kids, right? There's like a Shavuot crew and a drama club crew. But like Emma said, you know, it's a Venn diagram. We're a small enough school that kids are involved in lots of different things. So you have all these micro communities that are interwoven with one another. But also, because there's a faculty advisor on each one of these things, it's also an opportunity for students and teachers to connect over common interests. So like yesterday, actually, I see Vicky on the call, which is so nice. Hi, Vicky. And we had to get off yesterday because my Lit Mag editors wanted to have a conversation about how we're going to publish Lit Mag even from afar this year. And so, you know, even though they're not my official advisees, because they're involved in the literary magazine, they're kids who I'm really close with, sort of through shared interest. But then the other piece is that, you know, one of the things we really care about at Gann is authentic learning experiences and authentic assessments. And student publications is one of the opportunities, actually like Model UN or like Mock Trial, where you're doing a real thing. Like we're going through a real editorial process. Kids are peer reviewing each other's writing. We're trying to publish things on deadline. And that kind of learning experience that's happening in these kinds of clubs, I think is really a big part of the overall educational experience. Kids experience them as fun because they are fun and they're really social and they are aligned with what people are really interested in, but they also are part of this big picture educational experience too. So now that we've named the 9,000 things that you guys are involved in, I have a question here about, oh wait, before we move on from student publications, Sam asked, do students also write school publications in their classes? So Evan, do you want to talk a little bit about, I mean, the answer is kids write in their classes a ton. But Evan, do you want to talk about, did you guys put together a booklet in your English class this year as part of your homegoing experience?
Yes, we did.
So will you tell us about that a little?
Yeah, so I am in an English class in 12th grade called Contemporary Voices, where we read contemporary voices, contemporary books that are up to date, that have come out in the past year or even this year. So early this year, we read a book called Homegoing. I suggest reading it if any of you have not read it. And instead of a final paper, our teacher said, hey, you know what? Let's do a presentation. She went to college for theater, so she's big into presentations and performing. So we came together as a class and we created kind of a presentation with pieces of our work. So we did some writing for it and we created a booklet and also some other artwork. And there was a little Devar at the beginning, which is a little short piece of Torah just to incorporate Judaism into it. And we invited faculty and other students to our performance, and we were able to share our work. So instead of sharing it through different magazines or newspapers, we were able to share our work to the faculty in the room through presentations. And after we wrote, I think we each wrote like a page on a different aspect. We all chose an aspect of the book that we enjoyed or thought was cool and wrote a page on just about the book, about that aspect. So that was a really cool experience. And as someone who doesn't really love to write, that was still cool for me.
Great, thanks. Okay, so here's the question is, how do you balance all of these things? All of you guys are involved in a million different things. You play sports, you are really excellent students. So how do you manage balancing all those parts of your lives?
I guess I'll start. So I have always been someone who loves to do a lot of things, and at the expense of figuring out time to do a lot of things. I would say the biggest thing that has helped me, I use a schedule for my phone so I can see when I have different things, and I know every year. So I have a free block this year, so I don't have a class where other kids do. And I knew that last year I didn't have any free blocks, and that was a lot of pressure for me. And I knew that for me, I needed a little bit of free time just to do work. So I'd say know yourself, and that comes with experience and time. So I don't expect any of you to know yourselves in 8th grade, because I didn't. or whatever grade you're in. But I'd say figure out who you are, and then figure out, okay, well, can I push myself from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day? And some kids can. Some kids go to school. They come to school from 8 to 3 and then go to dance from 4 to 5 or whatever. And they do that. I personally don't think I can. So I've learned what I can do and what my limits are. And so I think it's person to person changes, but definitely know yourself and know your limits.
Any other thoughts on balancing?
Yeah,
Emma?
I think it's definitely a challenge for everyone. I think one thing that makes the Gann schedule a little different is that it ends later in the day at 5. So like we were saying with like course selection before, a lot of people have at least one free block twice to 4 times a week, which is a pretty important time for balancing the school side of things. And then clubs meet during lunch mostly. So most clubs, besides a couple, I think Model UN, Mock Trial, you can, other people can add some later, but I think those are the only clubs that don't meet during lunch, which is helpful to balance the clubs aspect of all of this. I think I would say the most challenging part of balancing a schedule again is probably the timing, just the time school ends with your commute. But definitely there's plenty of time at school between community blocks and other times to get part of your work done at least. And also advisors, and especially 9th grade advisors, are really understanding about this kind of thing. And it definitely takes time to adjust, but the whole school has adjusted before. So yeah.
I also forgot to add advisors. So Miss OG for me, Emma and Eden are super helpful. In 9th grade coming into the school, I was like, I want to do everything. And she was like, wait, you can't do everything. Like that's way too much. So I think that I know every single teacher in the school will be great at helping you just manage your workload and manage what you can handle. And that's obviously person to person and advisory to advisory. But every teacher is great at that and helping you.
Yeah, and I'll also say, like I think in your earlier years, again, like you find yourself, at least I found myself more busy, like 9th and 10th grade, I didn't give myself any frees, and I was still trying to kind of look around and like kind of shopping around for what I was truly interested in. And I think in 9th and 10th grade, it's easier to kind of have that freedom because there aren't as many pressures with college and testing and the things that come when you're an upperclassman. So I think 9th and 10th grade, it's not too hard to balance because like this like school and your courses and homework is the one thing you focus on. And if you really do want to be doing it, you're going to get it done. Like that's what I've learned with me. Like if I'm interested in something and I want to take it and add something, I'm adding it because I really do want to be there. And then 11th and 12th grade, I've given myself a free block, and that has like completely changed the way I perceive school, just because I suddenly have like in between classes like a 50 to 70 minute break, which is a normal class time between 50 and 70 minutes. And that really gives me the time to do extra work, like chill out, listen to music, the occasional nap. And like I highly recommend for students once they're classmen taking that free block really gives you a moment of peace, which makes your whole day seem a lot lighter.
Right. Okay, so Gann has lots of available opportunities for extra support, some like in the Learning Center or in the Writing Center or one-on-one support from teachers. So Evan kind of alluded to sometimes having a crunch time. So can any of you guys talk about sort of how you've accessed extra help when you've needed it, either from me or from teachers or from like existing structures at school?
Definitely. Coming in 9th grade, we have something called the Learning Center at Gann, which has changed over time. But when we came in, it's still the same premise. It's teachers who are just there to help with literally anything, whether that be Hebrew, Spanish, math, science, or just like planning your life and figuring out.
We call
like,
that executive functioning.
Executive functioning. So I utilized that in 9th grade, and I found myself going in and having just a structured time where a teacher's saying, okay, how can I help you? Having that, for me, that was really helpful. And I know for some other people that might not be as helpful. but then I found myself in 10th grade realizing I've learned how to do that with the Learning Center program, and I wanted to do it on my own. And the person on top of me helping me wasn't actually as helpful as it was before. So I'd say that, again, these are questions like you have to learn yourself and be aware of what works and what doesn't. And like at Gann, especially at Gann, I'd say Gann is going to help you do you, and they're not going to put you into one path. Not everyone uses the Learning Center. Not everyone doesn't use the Learning Center. And whatever works for you, Gann's going to work around you, and it's going to work really well because that's what Gann's good at. So I think that you'll learn, and that's like, I know it's annoying to hear that because I wouldn't want to hear like you'll learn, you'll figure it out, but it does just come naturally, especially in an environment like Gann.
Yeah, great. Let's see. We have a question actually that's about college counseling, if you guys are willing. I mean, it's a little bit outside of the 9th and 10th grade experience, but it is obviously a big part of the 4-year journey. So do any of you guys want to talk about what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, I could talk about it.
Great, thanks.
So basically, there are 2 awesome college counselors for the whole year grade, Miss Allis and Miss Geller. And basically in your junior year, I'd say halfway through, you have your first meeting with your parents and with all the students, and you all meet like right after school ends with the 2 college counselors, and basically you get this binder which gives you an account to this website called Naviance, which basically gives you all these statistics and information about like any college under the sun. Like it's basically this database of all these colleges and like stats of where Gann students have gone and accepted and rejected, and like gives you a really nice idea of kind of where you're standing. And so through junior year, it's kind of just all more prep and just kind of getting you ready for like what you're going to have to be doing coming senior year. And it's a lot of meetings, just talking what does early decision mean? What does regular decision mean? They talk about financial aid. They basically anything you have a question about, they give you those tools of understanding so that when it comes down to the action part, you're ready to do it. So then the coming senior year, you're assigned to your advisor, and you basically, at the beginning, they have some like mandatory meetings for you to go to, but after that, it's basically between you and your college advisor to basically plan together when you need to meet and about what specifically you need to meet about. So in a sense, they're like your own advisor, the separate advisor from like your normal advisory group, where they're there to help you with whatever you need help with, and they'll give you like a whole hour if you need it, just to like figure out a technical issue you're having, helping you write some of your essays or giving you advice. So and also helping you narrow in where you want to apply and kind of helping you get your priorities straight. Like I was someone who wanted to apply to like an insane amount of schools, and I really helped get my priorities straight with Ms. Geller about what was important to me. And like I early decision somewhere, that was a big decision. Ms. Geller also helped me figure out like what was important to me in making a commitment to a place. So they really help you kind of like find what you're interested in, and it's not just like kind of what Evan was saying, like you find your own way. Like yes, you do, but with college counseling, there's a bit more structure, so you feel supported, and you have someone who's really knowledgeable about the college process, like kind of holding your hand through it. So you don't really feel like you're alone or confused. Like they help you figure it out.
Yeah. I want to just say one thing, which is that like an interesting thing about the way that advisory and college counseling ultimately dovetail is that hopefully like we actually really try very, very hard to make sure that our 9th, 10th, and early 11th graders are not super fixated on college. That's actually not what this is about. Like these guys have amazing outcomes because they're amazing. And also like part of that is that we give them time to just be 9th graders and 10th graders and 11th graders without having to over fixate on, well, I'm making this choice so I can have this outcome. That really, the choices that I hope, I don't know, you guys can agree or disagree with me, that like I feel like all the advising we did leading up to this point has all been about like, who are you? Where do you want to focus your energy? Like, what do you love? What makes you feel good about yourself? And to like really focus on those things, and like those building blocks, which are about the present, allow you to have the kinds of futures that you're moving towards. I don't know. Do you think that overstates it?
No, not at all. Yeah. I think, Evan, were you going to say something?
No, you go for it.
I think Michelle agrees. One thing is like a rule just that is kind of low key set at Gann, but it is like speaks to what Miss RG was talking about, is we're not allowed to wear college, any swag, gear, anything before like right around now, once the process is over. But even when you get to the process, like, and you start meeting with your college counselors, it's a pretty private thing and it doesn't overwhelm your schedule, although you're allowed to meet with them and have a lot of one-on-one time with college counselors, which I think is like such a lucky opportunity for Gann students. It definitely does not trickle into the classroom as much as I've talked to my friends at other schools, because of the 2 years you spent prior kind of just focusing on academics and all the things you're interested in and passionate about.
Awesome. Okay, so it's 4:41. So Emma, you wanted to share something about just like meeting one-on-one with teachers, and then we're gonna wrap.
Oh yeah, so in addition to advisory and meeting with college counselors and all these other things, we have a bunch of opportunities for learning support outside of the Learning Center. So teachers' offices are always open at Gann. You become really close with your teachers, get to know every single student at Gann really well, because we're in pretty small classes and people genuinely care about you. You can always go into their offices during like lunch or a free block you have. Ms. RG, you look very happy right now.
I am, because you're talking about the best part of school, which is just like hanging out with kids.
Yeah.
It's like the thing I miss most right now.
Yeah. So going into teachers' classrooms is like a huge part of Gann culture, I would say, like just popping in and being like, Miss RG, I've been thinking about this thing for so long, or like, Miss RG, I'm in a tricky situation, or even if Miss RG isn't like your teacher or your advisor. And Miss RG is awesome, but this happens with a ton of teachers. And another thing is like the writing center, which is in the library that you can go to for specific writing questions and writing help, that has senior student kids who help out there. There's also Hebrew hours in the library where you can go to Hebrew teachers and specifically get your questions answered there, or just be like, I don't know what this says. Can we go through it step by step? Because a lot of kids are coming from day school or have that much Hebrew experience. So there's so many ways to get support. And it can be kind of scary to reach out at first, but it's like definitely part of the culture to do that.
Awesome. Okay, so in like 1 minute each, what would you say is like a way that you feel like you've grown and changed in the past 4 years? Evan's ready to go. Love it.
Yeah, I've actually thought about this a lot and talked about this with my mom, Michelle Black, who's on the call. That's the parent. I'd say when I was coming into Gann, coming from Rashi, I was a quieter kid who I wasn't introverted, but I wasn't super outgoing and loved to speak to people. That just wasn't who I am. And I think because of the environment Gann creates for kids, they create an environment where anyone can speak up and anyone can do what they want and like be themselves comfortably. And I know other kids at other schools, and it might be a different environment. And coming from Rashi to Gann, the environment at Gann is just be yourself, love yourself, and everyone will love you back. And again, I'm going to go back like community. That's like the one word I would use to describe Gann. And it 100% plays into my everyday life at Gann. I think that I've now become this outgoing leader person who wants to like have everyone together. And when there's no school, before this call, I was saying to Miss RG that I miss school. I miss the people. And I know that 8th grade me would not have said that. I would have said, oh, great, time at home. But I definitely miss the people and miss interacting in the community and the feeling of like happiness all the time, because that you don't get that at every school, and I don't get that at home, like happiness every single second. And again, it's just happy. I don't know how, but it's happy.
Yeah, I'll totally agree. I think something that when I visited Gann as an 8th grader, I was like, everyone's smiling. Like, why is everyone smiling? They're in school. Like, this is so weird. And like my parents are like, yeah, like why are they all why are they all smiling so much? But it's like it's so genuine, and the feeling of support is really like overwhelming in the best possible way. And I will say also at Gann, it's really, really, really cool and very well respected to follow your passions and to really dedicate yourself to whatever you're interested in. I know we're all in high school, and sometimes it can be a little scary to like be so vocal about what you really love and what you're so interested in, because you want to like maybe fit in more, this or that, or like be more mainstream. But like I feel like again, like all your like quirks and like cool things you're interested in are really embraced. And like I know I've learned, like I love English and I love poetry, and like I've been able to embrace that love so much again and like be vocal about it. And like people really respect you for being vocal about your passions and interests, and like teachers support you with it as well. And I think that is something very unique, because I think at this age we're all trying to figure out what we're interested in, and it's hard to like support someone else when you don't even know what you're interested in. But I think again, it's like the peers and your teachers are like, they love when you like share what you're interested in and like just pursue your passions. And I think at this age, that's like a very unique thing at any age, to feel that support when expressing your passions to people is really unique and rare.
Awesome. Emma, how are you different than you were in 9th grade? How have you grown?
Well, I think a big thing that Gann has helped, also just like snaps to Evan and Eden because they nailed it. But I think a big part of Gann, I feel like when I came in as a 9th grader, I was like, oh my gosh, high school, this seems like a lot. Like my 8th grade teachers kind of always threatened us with high school. And by the end of high school, I just like, I'm so sad that I'm going to be leaving my friends, but I also feel pretty prepared to go on. I think socially, Gann really prepares you because of what Eden was saying, because everyone kind of figures out what they like. And even if you like, that means you like a ton of different things, people can really pursue their passions in a way that's pretty special. And academically, of course, there's a really good balance. So yeah, I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say like I am at a moment of like deep love and nostalgia for these guys. I think it's so clear how amazing and grown up and wonderful they are, and I just feel so grateful and lucky that the advisory program has allowed me to sort of see this. I always tease them that they really came in as a ragtag bunch of misfits. And now they're just like the most amazing, accomplished young people. And, you know, I gave them this spiel last Friday during advisory. I was like, guys, I need you to start calling me Lily. Like, you're too old. Like, we're done with this Ms. RG business. And I mean, part of that is that, you know, it's a little bit of shtick about them being ready for the next part of their lives. But part of it too is that, you know, over 4 years together, we've developed such deep relationships through some really amazing times and some really hard times. And I think, you know, these are school relationships, but they really just run so deep. And I feel like a tremendous amount of pride in them and also in all of us together in sort of, I think Eden used the word family before, and I really feel that way. Like, I feel like someday we're going to end up with family reunion t-shirts when they come back for alumni stuff. So, yeah. Wendy, did you want to close us out?
After I get over that nice moment. You all are fantastic. We cannot thank enough Evan and Emma and Eden and Lily. We know we want to recognize that this is a very hard senior year for all of you, and this is not the senior year you had hoped for. And we're so happy that you're still together on Zoom, and we look forward to the day that we can come back again and celebrate you and see you graduate. So we're thinking of you and holding you in our hearts. And to our visitors, we thank you so much for coming and joining this panel about student life at Gann. This advisory, of course, is amazing, but every advisory is really like this. So this is a very genuine representation of life at Gann and relationships between teachers and advisors. So we're grateful to you all. We will post this on our accepted students landing page, and we will also if it's okay with these students, and Lily post their email addresses. So if you have questions, you can reach out to them directly.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please.
Yeah, feel
I'm
free
not
to
I'm not doing anything, so
That's not true. You have work to do.
I have a little bit of work to do, yeah. But other than that, I have like
Anything
6
after
other hours.
2:30.
I have like 6 other hours in the day that I'm not doing much. So
So you can all connect. This virtual world is new, but we want our amazing accepted students to see how wonderful Gann is, and you've shown them a glimpse of that today. So thank you again. And we'll be back at 7 for a transfer student panel if anybody's interested. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
you.
Nice to see
Bye.
you all. Thank you, Wendy and Gina and Emily.
Thank you so much.